utaweza kusikia Kiswahili, and those who probably follow much better in English, you have your headphones and the translation is ongoing right now. Just tune to channel 1. Any presenter who is presenting in Swahili, you will be hearing the translation in English. So channel 1 English, channel 2 Kiswahili. Chaneli namba 1 ni ya Kiingereza, chaneli namba 2 ni ya Kiswahili. Tutapata maelezo mafupi kutoka kwa Geoffrey Kirenga kuhusu ile learning journey ambayo nafikiri ana slide moja ya kuweza kutueleza. Alafu baada ya hapo tutawaita mbele wale ambao wako kwenye plenary ya kwanza. Nitamuomba Jennifer Burns awe karibu yangu hapa kuweza kuofficiate hiyo, kwa sababu Dr. Kiaruzi naye amepata tatizo kwenye usafiri. Once we kickstart, our program should be very straightforward. There are 2 major phases of the forum today. The first part will entail all of us being in this room, listening to a plenary, but you'll have an opportunity also to ask questions and answers. The second part of the day, or probably the second half of the day, we will split into smaller groups. And if you follow the program which you have, there are different themes in those groups. By the time we are ready to move to those groups, we will direct you to specific rooms. There will be a moderator there, and you will participate. It could be an issue with alignment, or it could be an issue with farmers level interventions, or it could be an issue on finance and investments. Try to think through which particular group you want to go to, and you will be guided to where that discussion is taking place. We'll convene in those small groups, do our discussions there, draw key issues, and then reconvene again here. And representatives from each group will do a brief presentation so that we can combine all the themes and have the forum's outcome. Jennifer, can you welcome the first plenary? You're not so Geoffrey is ready. Please call him down. I'm not going to talk again. You just speak. Kwa Kiswahili wana translation, ukizungumza kwa Kiingereza unazungumza kwa Kiingereza. Yeah.
Habari ya asubuhi. Naomba nijitambulishe. Naitwa Geoffrey Kirenga. Ni mkurugenzi mtendaji wa taasisi ya kuendeleza kilimo kusini mwa Tanzania, kwa Kiingereza inajulikana kama the Southern Agricultural Growth Corridor of Tanzania. My name is Geoffrey Kirenga. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Sagcot Center that is responsible for promotion of agricultural investment, responsible agricultural investment in the Southern Agricultural Growth Corridor of Tanzania. Honorable Chairman of the Sagcot Board, Chairman of the Catalytic Trust Fund. These are 2 sister institutions of the Sagcot Initiative. Honorable Regional Commissioners, District Commissioners, Honorable Ambassadors representing their countries in Tanzania, and also Honorable Ambassadors of Tanzania representing Tanzania in Africa and beyond, Chief Executives of various institutions, honorable leaders at regional and district level, and most importantly, farmers, animal keepers from Tanzania. Good morning. Habari ya asubuhi. Naomba nichukue nafasi hii kuwakaribisha wote viongozi, lakini muhimu zaidi kuwakaribisha wakulima. Leo kama mmegundua natumia lugha zote mbili. Kuna vifaa vya kutafsiri kwa wale ambao hawawezi kufuatilia Kiswahili, na wakati mwingine tutakuwa tunatumia maneno ya Kiingereza, kwa hiyo naomba ukiweke kifaa chako karibu. Kazi yangu mimi leo hapa ni ndogo. Kwanza kabisa, facilitator amewaeleza ratiba imebadilika kidogo. Hii ni kutokana na jinsi ambavyo tutampokea mgeni rasmi. Kwa hiyo ninachopaswa kufanya sasa hivi ni kuwaeleza kwamba huu mkutano leo ni siku yake ya 3 na ya mwisho, na kwa sababu kilimo kinafanyika katika maeneo ya vijijini, mkutano huu ulianzia mikoani, katika mkoa wa Iringa, Njombe na Mbeya. My duty this morning is nothing more than informing you that this is another day in the sequence of 3 days that these meetings have been taking place, and this is the culmination of that meeting. The meeting started by learning journeys that took place in the regions of Iringa, Njombe and Mbeya, where many of you were able to participate. We visited various value chains of the crops that we have been facilitating, particularly the crops of tea, which is one of the most important crop in the Southern Highland. Also soya crop. This is a new crop that is gaining a lot of momentum and interest in the Southern Highland. And also tomato. And another crop is rice. And we also visited farmers producing potatoes. We're giving a lot of attention to this particular crop because it has a lot of potential for contributing greatly or more in the food security of Tanzania. And finally, in the livestock sector, we visited the dairy production in the Southern Highlands, especially in the regions of Iringa, Njombe, and those farmers in Mbeya region. What can I say? Very briefly, because of the challenge of time, in all the areas that we have visited, we have discovered that there is market for all these crops and we are not producing enough. What is happening is that at most farmers are just producing at 1/3 their potential of what can be done. There are many challenges that are facing farmers as to why they're not meeting the potential, while for most of these crops the market is there. And the reason is the following. We are not organized and we are not using technologies. Once you are faced with such problems, and we know for the past 40 years we have been implementing various interventions by the government, development partners, and also non-state actors, but the situation is still the same. The tendency is we might reach a point where we get frustrated. But through the Sagcot initiative, we have demonstrated that when you bring all the partners involved in a particular value chain and agree to work together, solutions do come and things do change. Let me give you an example. We have visited potato farmers in Njombe, Iringa, and Mbeya. The situation is as follows. 3 years ago, when we intervened in Njombe and Kilolo district in Iringa, the producer of potato seed threw away very valuable seed that he had produced because there was no market. When we visited the farmers told us that we have no seed. We are only using our potatoes because there's no seed. No one is producing seed. So you can see the issue of connection. So we brought together not only the seed company and the farmers, but also we brought together other service providers, the inputs, fertilizer and pesticides. But also we brought together those people who procure those products to the market. But there was another issue, which was like a hidden issue. Most of the potatoes that farmers were producing were actually left in the farm. They were not harvested. Farmers were only able to harvest half of the crop. And the productivity was actually at most 7 tons per hectare. 2 years down the road, that seed that is produced by that seed producer, all of it has been sold, and the demand has soared to the extent that all the seed that is produced in the country now for potatoes is less than 1% of the potential demand. And farmers have the money in the bank, they have the money in the pocket, they want to buy seed, but there is no seed. So we started working on how can we allow seed to be produced in the country. They were legal, there were other institutional issues that we have also solved. And this year as we speak, there are now 9 varieties of potatoes that have been registered, and another 11 potato varieties for seed are also in the pipeline. And the companies interested in potato seed production have also increased. Now we have about 3 companies that have been registered and interested to go into that. That indicates that the partnership in potatoes is working. Now the farmers that we are working with, the productivity last year has increased from 7 up to 28 tons per hectare. Now this story repeats for soya, repeats for tomato, it's the same story for rice, it's the same story for dairy producers, and also tea crop. Let me go to another example in the dairy sector. Asas Dairies has got a capacity of processing 50,000 liters per day. They're hardly, with a lot of effort, getting 20,000 liters. One farmer in the Southern Highland, I will not name that farmer, produces 1,800 liters of milk per day, supplying to Asas Dairy. And all the farmers in one of the regions in the Southern Highlands put together, they're producing 1,200 liters. Therefore, one farmer is producing almost more than all the farmers that are selling milk to the Asas dairies in the Southern Highlands. The reason is, this one farmer is using technologies in the animal part, but also in the animal feed part. And that is what drives up production and productivity. And also the quality of milk is better most of the time than most of the other farmers. There is the market, but there's no enough produce. Again, farmers are not organized and they're not using technologies. I can repeat the same story for tea, which the productivity in the smallholder farmers is almost like 1/3 of what it should be. The same story can be said, we have visited the tomato farmers, young farmers, very energetic. Some of them are doing fantastic things. But as we speak, the factory that has got a capacity of processing 200 tons of tomatoes per day is idle because there is no tomato crops in Iringa. So these are some of the challenges, but we are now putting together the partners, and in the partnership, we're working towards the solution. And this particular meeting is designed to support that partnership from the government, the private sector, the non-state actors, but also most importantly, the farmers, and the farmers are ready to act and take the opportunities. As we speak today, we are no longer talking about the potentials. We have seen the potentials. And for those ones who have worked, we have seen how they are benefiting. Rice farmers is a good example that I'm going to finalize my discussion with. Our farmers, most of them are producing less than 1 ton per hectare. Actually, when we started with the farmers we were working with in Kilombero, they were producing at 660 kilograms. That's 0.65 tons per hectare. As we speak together, as we speak now, these farmers are producing on average of 5.6 tons per hectare, and there are 7,000 of them. The numbers of farmers that we are working with actually is a demonstration that they are willing to participate, but also they are willing to take the technology and convert that opportunities into something that is beneficial for them. Let me take this opportunity to, as we wait for the other presentation as well as the guest of honor, who is in his way coming here, I welcome you and also have to appreciate your coming to this particular forum, which puts together all of us, and I'm looking forward for a great day. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Geoffrey. Thank you very much for that summary. And in due course of the day, we will have an opportunity to see some slides of those who are visiting and insights to the achievements which are there on the ground. May I call the plenary for the first plenary session to be led by Madam Jennifer Burns. May I request Sachin Diclo, Fouad Abri of ASAS, Gloria Cheche. Mrs. Gloria Cheche, please join us at the high table. Jennifer, please. The middle seat is yours. Kavya Gilbert. Thank you. And once John Keruzi is here, he's also going to join us here. Yeah. Jennifer Burns is the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Sagcot Center. And she has been on the ground since the very early days of Sagcot. There was a time she managed Sagcot single-handedly, working very hard. She has a very good history of the challenges, and also she's one of those who probably has followed up the success and all the achievements which we have made today. We are very lucky to have her facilitate and moderate this first plenary session. Madam Burns.
Thank you very much, Professor, and good morning, everybody. It's indeed correct. It was almost like a pioneering exercise in the beginning of the Sagcot initiative, but luckily we had a very strong executive committee, the Kilimo Kwanzaa Executive Committee, consisting of 18 institutions, and also a very strong board, a Sagcot Center board, of which many of our board members are present here at the moment. I'm very happy to be joined here on this panel by quite a number of our distinguished partners. And if you will allow me to introduce them to you before we kick off this session, we will be discussing today innovations in finance and technology that are specifically focused on ensuring that farmers can sustainably and commercially or in a profitable manner engage in agriculture value chains. I will start, it's normally ladies first, but if you would allow me, Gloria, to actually start at that side of the table. We have Mr. Fouad Abri of ASAS Dairies, who's really one of our strong champions in the Hemi cluster. We had the privilege of spending 2 days going through his value chain, and he's engaging with a few hundred smallholder farmers to supply milk to the processing facility in Iringa. And it was quite an interesting journey because we met both these smallholders as well as some of the larger livestock holders in that region, but also had the opportunity to go through the processing facilities, which are really state-of-the-art, and you have very great ambitions for the dairy sector in Tanzania, Karibu. Mr. Sean DeClean is representing AGRA, but has a very long history in terms of public partnership engagement in the region and also in Tanzania. Gloria Cheche, you're newly recruited by CARE International as a deputy, but has been engaged with the Sagcot initiative already under a different umbrella, and also I think one of the champions in convening, especially the environmental and the social NGOs. Karibu. And Mr. Kavya Filbert is of NOSC, is representing NOSC, which is Njombe Outgrower Service Company, who is engaging a few thousand farmers around the Unilever investment in Njombe. Karibu. And then Karibu, this is John Keruzi, who is the head of the Catalytic Trust Fund, which will be a $60 million fund that will provide matching grant facilities to institutions that will engage with smallholder farmers. Welcome, panel members. This is really an opportunity to share some of the innovative practices that you have been engaged in Sagcot, and also across Tanzania. So I would like to invite each of you to just very briefly maybe share some of the approaches, and then I will ask specific questions, and we will give an opportunity to also the audience to ask some questions. Karibu. Yes, absolutely. This time we're going ladies first, and I'm happy that the panel agrees on that. So I would like to invite Gloria. Could you be so kind to share with us some of the innovative practices that CARE has been engaged with in the past, also including some of the Sagcot partners?
All right. Thank you very much, Jennifer. That was a very kind introduction that you gave me. And thank you for giving me the chance to go first. I do really appreciate that us as civil society have been able to engage in the Sagcot Center, and I have been doing it while I've been at CARE, but previously when I was engaged with WWF from the environmental side. So this forum, I think, is a really good opportunity for all of us here to understand what and how we can engage with the Sagcot, and really talking about the innovations that we have as a group, as a varied group of panelists, is something that I'm really excited to be part of. So as CARE International in Tanzania, there are three main areas that I would like to discuss the innovations that we have been touching on. The work that we do cuts across climate smart agriculture in order to improve the production techniques of smallholder farmers, both men and women. Our work cuts across ensuring that the smallholder farmers, both men and women, do have their land rights, and around better natural resource management for the communities that we work with to ensure that production is sustainable over time. And additionally, under financial inclusion as well, as a key tenet for communities to not only engage within production systems and the value chains, but beyond, for long-term development. Under the innovations that CARE has been able to do, we have a super approach when it comes to agriculture. And this stands for sustainable, productive, equitable, and resilient agriculture. The reason why we have this very nice tagline is because when we engage with communities around climate smart agriculture techniques, we want to ensure that all of these four tenets are included in the approach that we use. And therefore, it includes items such as soil and water management. It includes efforts such as mulching. It includes working with farmer field and business schools so that you are cutting across sustainable production. It is more productive, it is more equitable, and it is resilient. The second innovative technique that I would like to discuss today is our mobile application to secure land tenure, that we're working with so that they also can be included in the formal financial sector. So this is just the highlights that I wanted to share that CARE is currently doing.
Thank you very much for that, Gloria. That's quite a lot, and I think it's quite interesting what you mentioned, that it's important to be cross-cutting and holistic, and that you have a couple of core or tangible deliverables that you would like to achieve in terms of sustainability, productivity, but also that it has to be equitable. I would like to go as a second panel member, Sean DeClean from AGRA. Hearing from CARE, who's operating as an NGO supportive to the entire landscape, AGRA is trying to do this actually at a regional level, scaling up some of the best practices and initiatives from different countries. Can you maybe share with us some of the innovative activities that you've been engaged in, but also how you've managed to address some of the challenges in terms of implementing and rolling this out on a larger scale?
Thanks, Jennifer. And I think what's interesting, yes, we're working on a regional level, and actually we're currently working across more than 10 countries across Africa who are really looking to take a transformation agriculture agenda forward. Tanzania for us has actually been very central to that journey. I think for AGRA, what we have realised is that we have to move beyond just simply looking at agriculture productivity purely from looking at improving seeds, getting the right fertilizer in and, improving these specific systems, to taking a fully integrated approach to agriculture development. And so central to that is the whole idea, and you mentioned the word linkage, which becomes critical, because to get that integrated approach, you need to really get the links working throughout the whole value chain. And that requires, also de-risking the whole value chain. And so we're working quite extensively, particularly in Tanzania, to look at, right, how can that be done? Whether this is initiatives through the Farm to Market Alliance, where you see a global consortium of partners, AGRA, WFP, Yara, Syngenta, Bayer, Rabobank, IFC, and Grow Africa coming together to really, and using Tanzania as the go-to test case to see if you could take a model to scale that links the whole value chain, where you bring, at the moment, I think we have 40,000 farmers involved in, where you create a guaranteed offtake market in a staple market like maize in this case. And so the farmers have had to develop forward contracts based on that. None of these farmers have done that before, so it's a whole new step in terms of understanding what that means to be engaged in this kind of forward contract. And at the heart of this initiative, now this initiative would like to be taken global, but we're really using Tanzania because of the strength of the base of partnership, the partnership platform that exists here to really work through the dynamics of what that means at scale. We'd like to take this to, say, 250,000 farmers as an aim over, the next several years. What at the heart of that comes down to, though, is around de-risking and around finance. And that's a key issue. A few years ago, there was a very interesting meeting at the AGRF, the African Green Revolution Forum, where CARE were there with, what's the name of your Village Savings and Loan Scheme? It's the... Yeah, but your scheme with CARE?
With PKW, Pesapawote.
Okay, and so with PKW, and what was clear at that meeting, this was 3 or 4 years ago, that the different parts of the banking sector had never actually engaged together. So village savings and loans wasn't linking in closely to microcredit weren't linking into formal banks, insurance wasn't being brought in there. And so there was a meeting which then formed something at the time called the Finance Working Group to actually bring this together. And this is something that Sagcot have now said, look, we need to take this same approach here in Tanzania, where you actually look at how does everyone come together. If you take the Farm to Market Alliance, this is now seeing how you bring in crop extension delivery with finance extension delivery, so that the farmers, because for the individual farmer, they are running this as a business. They are investing. This is not a development activity. They are investing into their own land. They're investing into their own crop, and so they're taking that level of risk. But how do you then unpack that through the value chain in a way that it benefits the individual farmer? And so that means, bringing in things like crop insurance, to link into that. But maybe you're not providing crop insurance to the individual farmer. So if I just stick with this example of the Farm to Market Alliance, it's actually looking, can you provide that insurance to the banks who are providing credit to the farmer? So it's maybe one step removed. And so in this particular example, the University of London, Imperial College, are really looking at a whole sort of matrix of using satellite technology and quite complex forward and backward time-based satellite technology to narrow that down to come up with a finance instrument that can be used at the smallholder farmer level. So it's taking significant complexity and then creating something very simple and very tangible that can be used. I mean, the other big area that we could see major development in this in the coming years, which we're, as AGRA, starting to look at the different models on, is around mechanisation. And, but we're not going to see a situation in the next couple of years where every individual farmer is going to go and buy their own tractor. So it's going to mean a revolution in terms of finance leasing models and how you do that at scale, but also how you do it agnostically. So how you do that in a way that you create leasing models and which can work with any mechanization company who has a good idea that wants to put that out there, who's prepared to develop the kinds of services and the after-sales service that is needed to make this work. And so, you know, the whole idea of can you create an Uber for tractors, you know, is that kind of thinking. And what I like, and so, you know, interestingly enough, the reason I say this is because Jeffrey Karenga was, you know, talking about the potato value chain, you know, work that Sagcot are doing quite extensively. And so for Agro, we've said, okay, look, if we're going to test case these kinds of thinkings around mechanisation, let's use Tanzania, let's use the potato value chain here as a test case model for the region. And so, you know, so I'll finish there for the moment, but what I'm saying is you've got two things that are key. One is innovation. To get the models at scale that benefit the smallholder farmer, it's going to take a revolution in thinking. It's not going to be business as usual. It's not going to be the way that I was brought up on a farm, you know, when I was younger. It's going to involve technology in ways that we haven't thought, and it's going to require very innovative thinking. It's also going to require a very strong aptitude to figure out how you bring these linkages together along the value chain, how you de-risk the whole value chain in a way that brings income to the individual farmer.
Yes. So thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much for that, Sean. I think we can all agree. You've mentioned a couple of things, but we're coming back to the holistic approach of a fully integrated approach. But it's also to look at the different linkages in the value chain and also de-risking the value chain in that sense. I have a short announcement to make because initially, actually, John Joe Carusi was supposed to moderate the session, so I'm more than happy to hand over the moderation role to him as well. John is our co-host to the annual forum, to the partnership forum. But I think, John, that actually in response to what Sean has been saying, the Catalytic Trust Fund is quite important when it comes to the linkages and de-risking of the value chain. So maybe it would be interesting to add some of your insights to the panel as I'm transitioning out, and then maybe give an opportunity to the actors on the ground who really should be the recipients and the beneficiaries of some of these innovations, the companies like Assas Dairies, but also the farmers who are being represented by NOSCs to respond to some of this, what they've been hearing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. From the Catalytic Trust Fund point of view, we bridge the gap. We become an incubation system. If you look at the value chains and the way they have been financed, one element that has been weak is that if you look at the farmer himself, if you look at concentrate on the farmer himself, you want him to be part of the solution. In other words, we want the farmers to be uplifted. So if you concentrate on the farmers as part of this whole equation, two things come up. One is that if you look in Tanzania, farmers are at the level where they can actually not be engaged in taking loans because of poverty levels. So one thing you look at is that should you give them money? Sometimes the answer is yes, but sometimes the answer is no, depending on their level of economic strength. So what we say is that before a farmer can be engaged in taking loans and participate in agribusiness, you have to incubate them, bring them to a level where they can actually engage. So the Catalytic Trust Fund looks at the problem of farmers as participants and say, how can they systematically be engaged in the farming as a business? So one way is not, don't give them money, but force them to do business by hooking them up to the linkages with the off-takers. So instead of giving loans to the farmers, we say, no, put the money through the off-takers and let the off-takers prescribe the services that the farmer needs to be upgraded, and then they finance it. Be it fertilizer, be it tractors, be it anything, pump the money through the off-takers, through the companies that buy their produce, and then let them intervene. Through that, you force the farmers to actually behave. So we have two windows. The first window is called the matching grant, and the matching grant is actually financing the linkages with an assumption that the farmers cannot meet the market demands. So you pump in money to actually intervene at the farmers level. So the matching grant, we engage the off-takers, they come to us and request finances to go and resolve some of the problems that the farmers have. But we have the second window, which assumes that sometimes the farmers know what to do, they have plenty of produce, but there are no markets. So when no private sector does not want to get involved in creating those markets, then that's where you say, let me incubate some of these markets to be fabricated, so that when they create an appetite to the private sector, then people can actually come and buy us out. So the social venture capital is actually a window that is intended to do that. And I'm glad that we started last year to try to test this one out. And we have been working with the farmers in the field, especially in Njombe and Iringa and Mbeya. And I'm glad to hear that Asas is here. Perhaps you will testify. It's not easy to tell the off-takers, go and work with the farmers, solve their problems, and then come and take the money. It's a bit difficult, but it has to be done with an assumption that when the farmer systematically engages through that, with time, they will know the behavior of doing business, they will be qualified to take loans, and they will participate in a program. So I should perhaps take this opportunity to welcome the Asas to give us some views on how they have been experiencing this and what needs to be done and the challenges that are faced. Karim.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kiaruzi. It's really interesting when it's come to innovation of small-scale farmers. It's really hard if you're not involved practically. But for us as dairies with experience of more than 17 years, we have been listening different stakeholders from farmers level, producers level. As a processor, when we talk about milk, it has involved a lot of people, a lot of big value chain. But by the innovation of us as dairies with the partner with the Sagcot, we thought it is very important we should have a platform that is, we need to improve the technology, the platform, to understand what is going on the ground. Because when you listen to the farmer, he's telling his own problem, you listen to other stakeholders, the feed supply, their own problems, but on innovation of technology and the way to move forward. Because as us, we used to ask ourselves a lot of questions. Since I was born, I seen we are helping small-scale farmers. So I want to hear the end of story of helping the small-scale farmers. When I see the progress of Sagcot partners, really I could say they're the one who made creativity and encouraging me through the platform of platform technology. From the platform technology, as Mr. Kiaruzi said, is not an easy job. So we went to do through the technology with the Catalytic Fund to collect the data from the farmer themselves, electronically in the location-wise. Not only that, it is not an easy job when we talk to accepted collection of the information. We want for them to own that is their business people, no longer that because to change the mentality of charity. When after the collection the data from the farmers, able to analyze the quality, through the innovation, able to understand their needs, and bring transparency from a farmer to a processor. That was our also major intention. So majority of the time, or we deal with the cooperative, the information doesn't go to the farmer directly. Surprisingly, when we collect the information, after data collection and we analyzing it, we have seen a really surprise thing, which has been surprised also the Asas. Most of the youth, they are not longer interested in keeping the dairy. So majority of our farmer above 45 years. So that was been a raised question to us, and also for when we want to focus our business. Not only that, that is the farmer to accept the technology itself, because there is a lot of transparency. So the challenge itself as their farmer, you talk about loan in the village, they've never seen a bank. They don't know what is financial institution. So whenever you collect the data and you talk with them, they get surprised. That is, we talk about credit facilities, they don't know what to do. But as ASASFAM, from the platform and data collection and technology, we have come to realize that by analyzing the farmer, that is the profit and loss demand, I'm sorry to say that is they are working for the financial institution with the interest rate. So when we look the growth might not be an easy part, but it will bring transparency by this platform or innovation that we did. The bank can see what is going on the ground. The farmer can able to link the different stakeholders as a critical challenge when it's come to the insurance of animals. It's a bit a challenge. But by this innovation of the platform, it's really had helped us to analyze from the farmer level to a processor. Because when you talk a dairy, unfortunately, it's involved a lot of things. Because when you talk a dairy, take a crop. You involve a soil, you involve a crop, you talk an animal. So innovation on technology particularly is very important with the small-scale farmer. But critically challenged is an attitude. So I believe, as my colleague here say, attitude is a long-term process. We should not expect miracles within 2 years or 3 years, but it's a long-term process which can able to change the farmer practically. Mr. Chiaruzzi told something very important question, that is, should we give the farmer money or we should give them the credit? That it was a long conversation with the Sagcot, what we should do with the farmer. But there is a lot of things which I believe to give them an education that is very important for them to own that they're business people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the practical view of what it gets to get a farmer actually to farm as a business. And I think this is where we should think twice. And thank you very much. And I have been looking at the field. If you look very closely, I've been working with the local government. And with time, we have not been dealing with this problem. You know, when you want, you deal, for example, with food security, my friend told me, well, if you want to solve the problem of food security, forget about the farmers. Just take one investor, give him the whole district, and they will farm for you, and they will mechanize, and you will get the food. But if you concentrate on making a farm as part of the equation, so many difficulties come in. And perhaps at this point, we should listen to NOSC and get their views in terms of how they have been looking at the problems. So, Mr. Philbert, can you give us your views, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chiaruzzi. I want to share with you the experience from the Njombe Outgrowers Service Company. Njombe Outgrowers Service Company is a company owned jointly by the Wood Foundation Africa and the farmers of Njombe through the association called the ITOA, Igomini Outgrowers Service Association. Together, they come out and link the farmers to the market, where the market is expected to be the Unilever. The Unilever will build on the factory, and the farmers will supply the green leaf to the factory of the Unilever, where is the source of market. Now, what NOSC is doing on the ground, NOSC is supporting the farmers in terms of management of their farms and development of the new farms through 4 areas. First, we support them on the extension service. It's a kind of extension service. It's a 3P. We involve the government and the private sector extension service, where NOSC we support them for training the extension service, protective gears, working tools, and training, changing the extension officer to be commodity-specific extension officer for tea. Also, the extension service is supported by the farmer field schools and new technology for the farmer to learn more. We also support the farmers on inputs. Tea technically is input intensive. It requires a lot of fertilizer, a lot of seedlings. It's very expensive for the farmer to purchase or to invest on that. So we support them on long-term interest-free loans to be deducted from their dues when they sell back on the crop. 25% is deducted and the 75% is remain to the farmer. We also support the farmers on the logistic. Logistic is a collection, weighing, transportation, and payment of the leaf to the farmers. And it's where our technology innovation come in. We did a mapping of the area, the total area of 31 villages, and we take the coordinates through we outsourced from the company from Kenya, Octagon database. It comes down, we map all the area, the weighing sheds, and we have the database for all the farmers connected to the system. The database electronic weighing scales supports the farmers on the weighment of their green leaf. It's where the business now is between the manufacturers and the smallholders. The weighment, transportation, and support on the other activities. Now on electronic weighing scales, we support the farmers on trying to put the transparency of the whole system. The 3 gadgets of electronic weighing scale, the printer, the small e-scales, and the rugged phone, which connect the two, the printer and the phone. It prints automatically the receipt for the farmers, and the information is transferred through the Allotel communication company to the server, to the office. So looking on totality, the transparent and the trust for the farmers is there. And there is no any middleman can interrupt between. The business is between the company straight with the farmer. So there is no anybody can tamper within the system. And reliability, time, and cost is very effective because there is no paperwork. The system is very fast. You can track, you can audit. So that is a system we think, and even the farmers are appreciating on that because of the transparency of the system and the payment system. So we are looking now to look on the further step to use the electronic weighing scales to use them for paying the farmers. We are trying to thinking crazy how we can link with these telecommunication companies to use them to pay direct to the farmers. Because currently, after collecting all the information on the ground, having them develop the payrolls and everything, payment is still manual. We go through the Sagcot. The Sagcot is not everywhere. We have very few Sagcots. So we deliver the money for the Sagcot to pay the farmers. But the Sagcot, therefore, within the 31 villages. So you can see how very difficult for the farmer to travel at least 10 kilometers, 2 kilometers for his money. So we are looking on how now we can advance on the second stage to use the electronic paying system to pay the farmer, either by using the M-Pesa or whatever. So that's I can share with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. NOSC has actually revolutionized the way I looked at investment in this country. People used to say the farmers cannot be investors. But now I have realized that the farmers can actually be investors without even going to the farms. I remember the Dubai model. They say the people in Dubai are rich because they own land, but they don't own buildings. Somebody comes up and sets up a building, a farmer sits at home, and they get money at the end of the month because of the rent collected from the building that have been elected from the land. In agriculture, concept that the NOSC have done, what they do is that the farmers have farms, but do they really have to manage the farm? The answer is no. If you get a management company, they technologically, they critically deal with the farm, they get money off the farm, they pay the farmers, and everything around the farm is a service. So actually a farmer can sit home and actually finance the services to the farms. So the farmers really don't have to get money. All they need is to get the services from NOSC, and the rest are implemented. Before I give room to the panelists, perhaps anything burning? I want to invite a few questions from the floor. Okay, is there?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so this is really interesting. And again, thanks Sagcot for bringing us all together, because all of these innovations do come together to what I really think is Sagcot's big vision as an inclusive and green growth example that can be taken on globally. And that is why, in terms of the innovations we use and the approaches that we use within the Sagcot area, we need to be able to engage the smallholder farmers in ways that they do retain their rights, such as to their land, that they are engaged in the value chains, across that value chains, not just production, but all the way up to the markets as well. So engaging with the work that ASAS has been doing, engaging with AGRA, who are coming up with more innovative ways for them to access the finances and the loan that they need to do so, but also bringing in the investors who can move our production, our food security to the level that the country can reach and that we do need. And what I would just add is that we all need to think a step beyond. There, as our moderator mentioned earlier, you could say the easy way out is to have one investor who produces everything, and then we have food security as a country. But we can take it a step beyond and make sure that we are actually engaging all of the smallholders that we're talking about, that we are managing our resources sustainably, and that we can move poverty alleviation to the next level. So I'd just like to add that.
Thank you very much. Few questions, comments from the floor before we, I have one there.
Oh, thank you very much, moderator. My name is Zuberi Mwachula. I'm coming from Iringa, and I'm working with a local NGO called Tagrode. Thanks so much for all your presentations. They are valid. But only one question to Gloria regarding to the mobile application to land tenure. My question is, you mentioned something related to sustainability. I think it's very crucial to understand the concept of sustainability. So regarding to the mobile application, I would like to understand the level of institutionalization. This means to what extent the government has taken on board the application of mobile in relation to land tenure. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question?
Thank you very much. Mine is quick, following up to what he said. I want to hear from all of you, what's the role of the government in all the innovations you've been speaking about? Because none of you spoke about the role of the government. It seems as if it's not there, but I want to hear from you if there's any participation of the government.
Thank you very much. Good question. This side.
Thank you so much. My name is Harman Mrema. I'm in value chain for 20 years, and I believe value chain is a true solution to alleviate abject poverty in Tanzania, if done properly. I will just recommend some modification of what is being done right now. Instead of the farmer being educated to be a business person, let's provide him with services that exactly what Knox has been doing, but introducing the role of a honest broker in between, who will build the capacity of the farmers to understand that farming is business, provide the services that they need, like mechanization, harvesting, processing, packaging, and getting the product to the market, so that the ownership of the farmer is from the farm to the market. And the market is not the person who is organizing the farmer. Here, I'm talking about a lion not be given opportunity to organize a cow. I'm talking this from an experience that I picked from Iringa, and I mean from Morogoro. And this year, we are determined to produce, process, and market branded rice owned by the farmer organization themselves in retail markets in Dar es Salaam. So my suggestion is that there's a room for improvement, a good job has been done, but let's get out there and get the finances required. If I go to the bank right now, I'm asking for money to finance building the capacity of these farmers, getting the mechanization organization, get the tractors in place, get the combined harvesters in place, provide the services. The bank is asking me, where is the 3-year financial statement? Where is your learning curve? What are the success stories? Which is an innovation. I don't have a success story to tell. So we are asking for the banks to become also innovative, to think outside the box. Because right now, we are being concentrating on the inboxes. We are not thinking out and really look at the farmer as the boss. Give the farmer what is due to him, the lion's share of the margins in the value chain.
Point taken.
Thank you so much.
Very much. Point taken. I will take 2 more and then let the panelists respond to them, and then we shall see if we have more time. Please.
Yeah, I'm Charles Govert from Malawi. We are trying to parallel what Sagcot is doing here in Malawi. Somebody, I think you mentioned that the average age is like 45 that are involved in farming. Out there in Malawi, the average age of a farmer is 68 years old. And I haven't heard anybody talking about the involvement of youth or bringing youth into agriculture. Because if all these things are going to be sustainable, there has to be an active engagement of youth institutionalized in all these initiatives.
So the question is, how do we bring in the youth?
Yeah, thank you very much. Rizik Shemdo from Mufind, the District Executive Director. My comment or question, if you like, I haven't heard anything from the panelists on issues related to insurance. Farmers, smallholder farmers are actually associated with a lot of risks. And these risks could be tackled in a way by encouraging insurance companies to invest in these farmers. So how have you attempted to encourage insurance companies to ensure production in the farming systems?
Thank you very much. Let me give the opportunity for the panelists to respond to some of these questions. It looks like time is running out. But quickly, can you respond to these questions? The first one, Glory.
Okay.
The land tenure.
So the question you had around land tenure was, what is the government's engagement in all of this for sustainability, correct? Now, the whole process that we used for using that technology was with the government. So we first engaged with them and ensured that they did know what we were doing, and that was at the national level, so with the Ministry of Lands. And the next step was working directly through the regional office, the district offices, all the way to the village executive offices, to work with them in order to develop, make sure the land use plans were in place, ensure that they were part of the committees, both the grievance committees, and also to ensure that when the maps were developed with the technology, that they review them and approve them all the way up to the district level before the CCROs, which are government issued, were then provided to the beneficiaries. I will emphasize that MAST itself, though it is a technology, it is an entire process that requires that engagement with the government and with the communities in order to get them their certificates accordingly.
Thank you. Do you see the role?
Yes, no, I mean, absolutely is the answer, and you know I would say that. But seriously, because I think what we're hearing today is that if you're going to get this full value chain approach working in a way that supports the individual smallholder farmer, that requires quite a lot of innovation. I mean, that's the word that's coming through consistently today, is you need innovation, you need data services, you need technology approaches. Now, I think the role of government here, we did a very interesting session at the end of last year in Mbeya around how do you integrate delivery. And the district commissioner for Mbeya, took a really strong lead in this meeting about how, she was asking the question, how do we as government facilitate this fast-track development of data delivery services, and what is it going to require at a district level for them as a coordinator? Because there are two roles of government. One, that are played. One is to help facilitate this kind of innovation. And so Sagcot has done some very powerful work around using delivery labs, in 24 hours, 48 hours, working with government to come up with everyone agreeing at the table, including government, on a series of next steps that are locked down in a letter, and a committed written document. And so government plays a very strong role in that role. The other role then, obviously, for government is at a national level around coming up with the policy environment that will enable this kind of fast-track development around these innovations. And so I'll give one example for Tanzania. Everyone is trying to figure out, how do you use unmanned vehicles or drones or, whatever, that happens to be. Very trendy at the moment. Everyone's got, people are buying cameras now where they fly around. And, But actually, what's interesting is because, Tanzania has been quite on the forefront of this from a government perspective to think this through. People are saying, okay, let's use Tanzania as somewhere which could innovate and facilitate this kind of development, and see how that feeds into weather service delivery, insurance mechanisms, extension service delivery. And so, because these are complex solutions that then have to be made very simple, to be delivered, to the farmer, and that requires quite a lot of innovation from the government, both as a facilitator to bring these different players together and to actually develop the kind of legislation that will enable this, this kind of thinking.
I think you have said it all on our behalf, but let me say one thing, that the do's and don'ts. One last example is when I went in Tanga, I realized that I had there were two buildings next to each other. One owned by a private sector. This is where farmers put their tomatoes, they store them. And next to it, there's another government building, the same storage facility. And on the private sector facility, the farmers were being charged. On the government facility, the farmers were not being charged. But guess what? The farmers are putting everything into the privately owned houses. And I asked, why is this? They say, the answer is simple. This is a government building, free, but we are not putting in, because if you put in $20, after 3 months you come, you find there are only $19. Who do you blame? Nobody to blame, because this thing is owned by the local government. These are, but if you go to the private sector, they have tags, they have names, everything is kept there. So doing business, farming as a business is the concept. So the government should not do things for the farmers, but I think the government should facilitate. They should become a go-in-between. So I think especially forcing farmer to respect the contracts. This is an area where the government can actually assist us. It's one of the biggest problems, that farmers don't respect contracts. They can get away anytime they wish, and forcing them to respect contracts requires a lot of government interventions. Having said that, I wish to thank all the panelists for a good job in giving us the facts on the ground. And because of time, I think I should stop there and give the mic back to the organizer. Thank you very much. Let's give him claps.
Thank you very much, Kieruzi and the team. And I don't know why I tend to feel those claps weren't enough. A bigger one as an energizer. May I take this opportunity now? We'll move straight to the second plenary. And our contributors are the following. Again, kick-started or will be moderated by Jennifer Burns. Please take the hot spot. I think this is the last time you're coming here for this particular assignment. But may I also request Honorable Amina Juma Masenza, Regional Commissioner Iringa, Honorable Mr. Christopher Ole Sendeka, Regional Commissioner Njombe, Mr. Alexandro Macedo, Managing Director of Yara, Tanzania, Mr. Raphael Simon, Managing Director, Raphael Group, and Mr. Val Granendran, Head of Mission, DFID, Tanzania. This is a session which will deal with alignment. Those are the keywords which, whenever you walk into Sagcot Center, you'll keep on hearing them. Coordination, alignment, partnership. Those are the three words. And we intend to listen and get the insights of how alignment, agribusiness, and farmers can co-create converging investments in different forms, not only financial, but in terms of ideas, efforts towards achieving the same goal. If you look at Sagcot, that is mainly the thrust of the initiative. Convergence, trying to align, building up partners to co-create. Karibuni sana, na naomba translators muwe tayari. Session hii ita engage lugha zote mbili. Tutazungumza, wengine watazungumza kwa Kiswahili, wengine watazungumza kwa Kiingereza. Naomba nirudie tena, kama wewe unapenda kusikia kwa Kiswahili, weka channel namba 2. Kama unapenda kusikiliza kwa Kiingereza, weka channel namba 1. This session will be conducted in both languages, English and Swahili, and there are 2 channels. Channel number 1 provides you English version of the discussion, and channel number 2 provides you with the Swahili version of the discussion. Okay, Adam Stefan. Also, Mr. Adam Stefan from USAID. Okay.
William Kenyo from Yara, Tanzania. Oh, he's already here? Okay. Oh, gentleman here, Mr. Nimba, policy analyst Mviwata. Who's in the room?
The policy analyst Mviwata, we want to have a farmer's flavor on this discussion. Mr. Kiemba, is this Stanislaus? Yes, welcome. We still don't have Adam Stefan from USAID, private sector lead.
No, she's not on this panel. She's not on this panel. She's not on this panel.
Okay.
Adam Stefan. And then Christopher.
Kuna mwakilishi wa mkuu wa mkoa wa Njombe, anaweza akaja kwa muda mfupi. Ni maswali ya kawaida, experience yetu ya Njombe. Adam Stefan will join us once he walks in. He is attending to something which is urgent at the office. But Jennifer, once again, please, welcome.
Thank you once again, Professor Temu, and I promise you this is the last time you will see me until we close this event. But once again, I'm very happy to be surrounded actually by so many of our Sagcot partners and also some of the important and critical voices across our value chains, Mivata. Our panel has already been introduced by Professor Temu.
Mr. Noah will sit in for a little bit.
Okay, absolutely. The panel has already been introduced, but may I also introduce an additional panelist, which is Mr. Noah, who's sitting in for the Regional Commissioner for Njombe, Mr. Christopher Olesindeka. Karibu. So our panel today will actually discuss what is at the core of the Sagcot initiative. And that is what I often emphasize as alignment, alignment, alignment. There are already a lot of activities happening in the Sagcot corridor, but coming together, convening, planning together, and making sure that our public and private investments or activities are properly aligned so that we create synergies, we mitigate risks, so that we can bring all those services and increase productivity across different farmers is so critical. And I'm happy that I have a panel here today who has hands-on experience in making that happen, and also hands-on experience in experiencing what some of the challenges and difficulties are. All the way at the end there, I have a policy analyst of Mivata who's very critical and important in representing the farmer voice. We have close to, I think, 30 farmers in the audience, and they will be introduced to you later today, because I think it's very important that at the end you also measure at the farm level what the output is. I have Ms. Ngeno from Yara, one of the founding partners and also a key champion in the Sagcot initiative. Last year you opened a $25 million fertilizer terminal in the port here of Dar es Salaam, state-of-the-art facility, if you compare it to what else there is here in the region. We also have here Mr. Lazaro Makipisile, who is the general manager of the Rafael Group. A number of participants, I think we had over 60, who spent 2 days with you in Mbeya, going through your value chain, speaking with your farmers, and the outgrower scheme that you have as Rafael Group. And of course, my mama here that I should not forget, who's a very committed supporter of the activities that we are doing in Iringa, Her Excellency Mrs. Amina Juma Masensa. Karibu. We also had 2 very interesting days going through the tomato value chain. And of course, welcome in Njombe. That is also part of the Hemi cluster. We have significant activities. I would love to start with you, Mama Mina, and I think it's also important to tell the audience that you will be speaking in Swahili. Yes. We have simultaneous translation as well, so please make use of your headsets. Because I think that the Iringa region has really been one of the pioneering regions in Tanzania when it comes to the Sagcot initiative, and the level of commitment that we've seen there and how you've been working with many of our stakeholders has actually been very important. So I would like to invite you to share with the audience and with the rest of the panel some of the activities that you have engaged in and what your experience has been. Karibu.
Asanteni sana. Kwanza naona heshima kupata nafasi kueleza yale ambayo sisi tumeweza kuyafanya kupitia mkoa ambao nauongoza. Kwanza nikiri kwamba Sagcot imeendelea kutufundisha mambo mengi, lakini kubwa kabisa ambalo tumelishuhudia ni ushirikishwaji. Tumeshirikisha walio na uwezo mkubwa na wale ambao hawana uwezo kabisa katika kushiriki kujenga uchumi. Lakini hakuna jambo linakwenda limenyoka bila kuwa na changamoto. Wakati wa ushirikishwaji tulianza kwanza kwa kujenga timu yetu ya uongozi katika mkoa, wilaya, kwa maana halmashauri, na kwa kutumia wataalamu mbalimbali. Na kwa kuwa jambo hili la dhamira ya kujenga uchumi linagusa sekta zote, kwa sekta zote zinahusika na zinatakiwa kufahamu vyema nini kinatakiwa kufanyika. Kwenye kongani yetu ya IHEMI tumejikita zaidi kwenye kilimo, na kwenye kilimo tunashirikiana na wanaozalisha mbegu, lakini pia wapo wafugaji na wazalishaji wa maziwa pia. Kwenye sekta hii nilichowaomba wote watendaji wenzangu katika mkoa ni kuendelea kushawishi wakulima wote waliozunguka mashamba ya wale wanaozalisha mbegu wawe tayari kujifunza, lakini pia na mwekezaji yule anayezalisha mbegu na wale wafugaji wakawa tayari kufanya kazi na wale wakulima. Nilikuwa na maana gani? Hivi siku moja kama huyu mwekezaji hayupo, hatuzalishi mbegu tena. Kama wakulima hawa watakuwa wamepata utaalamu wa uzalishaji wa mbegu, basi hatutakuwa na hofu yoyote kwamba tutakuwa na mbegu bora, na hilo limewezekana, na hakika kazi hiyo imeenda vizuri. Tumeshirikishana, tumeendelea kupeana elimu, lakini na kwa sasa wawekezaji pia nao wamefungua madarasa kwa ajili ya wakulima. Wanakwenda banchi kidogo kidogo kwa ajili ya kupata elimu juu ya ufugaji, juu ya upandaji wa mbegu ya viazi, na wamefungua mashamba, na wengine wengi pia wanafungua maeneo yao ya biashara. Matamanio yetu katika mkoa wa Iringa, tungependa kuona wakulima wote kilimo chao kinabadilika, lakini kinabadilika kwa kuendelea kutoa elimu hiyo ambayo inaendelea sasa bila kuchoka. Muhimu katika kongani yetu ya IHEMI, kwa kuwa tulipanga kwa pamoja, tunafanya shughuli zote kwa kushirikiana, na baadaye tunafanya tathmini. Tathmini inatusaidia kuona wapi tumekosea ili tuweze kujisaisha na kwenda mbele zaidi. Lakini kubwa, kuna uwazi. Hakuna jambo limejificha ambalo linamfanya mtu lazima aanze kulichungulia likoje, alitafute. Uwazi huo umeendelea kujenga imani kwa wakulima wadogo na kuwafanya na wao waone kwamba ni kweli wanashirikishwa na nia ni njema ya kuwabadilisha kiuchumi. Wakati wa kufanikisha mambo haya yote panatokea migogoro, na wakati mwingine migogoro inakuwa migumu kweli, inahitaji kwenda. Kwa hiyo timu ambayo tulipeana ueleo kimkoa kwa halmashauri, tunakwenda kwenye eneo ambalo kuna mgogoro. Tunao mfano mmoja, yuko mwekezaji alitaka kuanza kufanya kilimo cha umwagiliaji, lakini alikuwa anaenda kutumia mto ambao wanatumia wakulima wa kawaida. Wakulima hawakupenda atumie yale maji, ukawa mgongano mkubwa sana. Tulichofanya ni kwenda kuzungumza na wakulima, kuwaelimisha mpaka pale walipoelewa. Lakini wakati mwingine unagundua ziko chuki ambazo zilitengenezwa huko nyuma, kwa zinakuja kugharimu hili mnalolifanya kwa wakati wa sasa. Kwa hiyo inawezekana kama mnapanga pamoja, mnashauriana, mnafanya tathmini, mnaweza mkatembea kwa lugha inayofanana kwa nia ya kukuza uchumi. Pamoja na haya yote, nitumie nafasi hii kualika wawekezaji hata mafanikio, na naiona kongani hii ya IHEMI leo inaonekana ni ya kanda, lakini mpaka itakapofika mwaka 2030 itakuwa ya Watanzania. kwa sababu ya hayo yanayoonekana sasa. Niwaombe kwa pamoja na wale wengine ambao mtapata nafasi, naomba niwaalike mje mjifunze, muone tunafanya nini, na pengine mtakuwa na mawazo mapya ambayo mtakayotupa. Ombi langu kwa Sagcot, mimi katika mkoa wangu nina matatizo mawili makubwa ambayo bado hayajaguswa. Tatizo la kwanza ni tatizo la ukame. Sehemu yangu ya mkoa ni kame, inaweza kapata mvua mara moja kwa mwaka, na hili kwangu linakuwa tatizo. Huwezi kuendelea kukuza uchumi wa watu wa eneo moja katika mkoa wako na ukawaacha wa eneo lingine kuendelea kuwa maskini na kutokuwa na uhakika wa chakula. Kwa mimi kwangu naona ni tatizo, na ninaomba niliweke mbele ya meza hii, waone jinsi gani wanaingilia kati kwa ajili ya msaada kwenye eneo hili. Lakini la pili ni kilimo cha vinyungu. Unapozungumza kilimo cha vinyungu kwa mkoa wa Iringa, manake unamzungumzia mkulima wa kawaida, mkulima ambaye kila siku anakanyaga tope. Lakini kilimo kile, kwanza mkulima yule hana uhakika wa kupata faida, lakini pili, kilimo kile kina uharibifu wa mazingira. Nilitamani kuona tunawahamisha kwenye vinyungu, wanakuwa mahala fulani na wanaendelea na kilimo cha umwagiliaji. Tukifanya hivyo tunaweza kweli kulinda mazingira katika maeneo yetu. Karibuni tupange pamoja, tushauriane, alafu tutembee kwa lugha inayofanana ndani ya uwazi. Kwa pamoja ni matumaini yangu tutaweza. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza.
Thank you very much for that. And also, of course, thank you for your hospitality when we were in Iringa in the past days. When we were in Iringa in the past days, thank you for your hospitality and thank you for the speech. And I would definitely invite many of our partners to visit Iringa to see what is actually happening there and how the regional government is making a difference in making Sagcot happen in partnership. We have a bit of a technical failure with some of the equipment here on the panel. So in order to ensure that the panel is interactive, there will be a short summary for the non-Swahili speakers after we had the second speech. I would like to invite Mr. Noah, who's here on behalf of the Regional Commissioner for Njombe, to share some of your thoughts and how your experience has been in engaging with different farmers in transforming agriculture in the Ihemi cluster.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. First and foremost, I'd like to bring apology from my regional commissioner, Honorable Christopher Olesendeka. He was away visiting her mother, whose health was not very well, so he promised to join us, but up to this point in time, he couldn't manage, so apology from him. Otherwise, I'd like to thank Sagcot for the good job well done in Njombe region. Actually, the value chains we have there is potato value chain, milk value chain, tea value chain, tomato value chain. When it comes to potato, most of the districts are cultivating potato, and the varieties which they were using was CIP, which was it's not very performing very well because of the it has been used for quite a long time. So with this Sagcot initiative, we've had seeds from Tanga, 3 varieties, and they're doing extremely well. We have seen doubling of harvests. That is one, but also Sagcot has also assisted us with the mechanization of potatoes. When CEO was saying about the leaving half of the crop in the ground, we're now really trying to see that we have mechanized harvesting of potatoes, and I'm sure that could also help the government, regional government initiative of lifting our people out of poverty through proper agricultural technologies. Other areas of interest are tea value chain. We have had a problem with our smallholder farmers who are really now coming up to revamp their farms which were abandoned in the past because of various problems. Other farmers are also coming up, are also planting the new fields through the support from NOSCI. And the challenge was processing of the tea leaves. We have three or four factories, but they are not enough. So we wanted to have another factory. And there were some problems in acquiring land for the construction of this tea processing factory. Unilever was ready to put up one, but there was some of these local politics on land acquisition and the laws and the like. So we had to do a thorough job in trying to level the ground for these people to acquire that land. I'm happy to say that at this point in time, the contractors are on the site, starting up constructing the Luangu tea factory. And I'm sure this will help our farmers a lot because the smallholder farmers are now in high spirits of producing tea. And also thanks to Sagcot and NOSC, we have new varieties of tea which within 13 months you can start picking up leaves. As compared to the old varieties which we had, which was taking 3 years or more. So now I've seen fields which were planted 1 year ago and they are now ready for harvesting. My dream is to see more factories coming up. Our president, John Pombe Joseph Magufuli, is really advocating for Tanzania with industries. So I'd like to take this opportunity to invite all investors who are really interested to put up factories on tea. The room is there. Potatoes, we have a big room for processing or adding value to potatoes. As it is now, we are selling them, most of the potatoes raw. And if we manage to add value, I'm sure our farmers will be happier and they'll be healthier in terms of their economy. We have other crops which also need need investors. At this point in time, we have a very nice variety of pineapples, and we have no proper market. So there's a room for people to export pineapples or to process them, and avocados. Avocados, we have very nice varieties, and people are really farming avocados. So there's also a room for investors in that particular field. with those few remarks, I'll tend to stop here. Otherwise, if there's anything which is not so clear, I'm ready to clarify. Thank you very much.
Well, Asante, thank you very much. And it seems that the door is open for actors who are willing to work inclusively and in collaboration with your farmers in both Iring and in Njombe. So we do welcome that. It's important, as you mentioned as well, we would like to see more processing facilities, more industries, also agribusiness in agriculture, but to also ensure that we engage with smallholder farmers, uplift them, and also create income. And I would therefore like to invite the Raphael Group to share some insights about the model and how they have been working together with smallholder farmers. Well, it's not in Iring and in Njombe region, but in Mbeya. But I trust that in the Sagcot partnership, we learn from each other. So, Mr. Lazaro, karibu.
Thank you very much for this welcoming. And I would say that we have quite a number of guests here who maybe won't be able to speak Swahili, but for the sake of Tanzanians, let me use Swahili. And as far as it's my language, and I'll be very comfortable using it. Kwa wageni naomba switch kwa Kiswahili, switch to English version ili muweze kusikia what we are talking about. Naomba nijitambulishe kwanza. Mimi kwa majina naitwa Lazaro Mwakipesile, ni manager mkuu wa kampuni inaitwa Raphael Group Limited. Tuko Mbeya. Kazi zetu kubwa sisi ni processing and trading. We are working on almost 5 crops. Tunafanya kazi kwenye mchere, ambapo mchere mpunga ni 50% ya biashara yetu, lakini tuna mazao mengine kama maharage, tuna mazao ya karanga, tuna alizeti, na kwa msimu uliopita tumeanza kufanya kazi katika zao la mtama. Na niseme tu tangu tumeanza mpaka sasa tumekuwa tukijitanua vizuri mwaka hadi mwaka, na shughuli zetu zimeanza rasmi mwaka 1995. Kwa wale ambao mmefanikiwa kututembelea ndani ya siku 2 zilizopita, najua mtakuwa mmeweza kujionea, maana tulijaribu kuonesha pia hata kwa picha wapi tulikoanzia mpaka tulipofikia sasa. Niseme pia tunashukuru sana uwepo wa Sagcot, na kwa kifupi mmetuwezesha kutulink na partners wengi sana. Saizi tunafanya kazi na makampuni mengi ambayo yako chini ya Sagcot, na yote yakiwa na dhumuni moja tu ya kutekeleza miradi ya kilimo kwenye ukanda wa Nyanda za Juu Kusini, na kwa pamoja tunaona kabisa tunakuwa mwaka hadi mwaka. Tulipotoka mwaka 1995 kufika mwaka 2013 na 14 na tulipo sasa ni tofauti kabisa. Tumeanza operation hizi za kufanya kazi na implementing partners wa agricultural activities miaka 2014, ni juzi tu, lakini hatua tuliopiga ndani ya hii miaka 2 ni kubwa sana. Pamoja na Sagcot tunafanya kazi na Kilimo Trust, shirika la Kilimo Trust, na kwa pamoja tunatekeleza mradi unaitwa Competitive African Rice Initiative KARI, ambao unafadhiliwa na GIZ, lakini Kilimo Trust ni implementing partner ambaye yeye ndio anatuwezesha sisi kutekeleza mradi wa kilimo kwa Nyanda za Juu Kusini, na tumewafikia wakulima zaidi ya 6,000 kwenye huu mradi wa mpunga. Lakini pia tunafanya kazi na DFID chini ya mradi unaitwa Food Trade ESA, ambao ni mradi wa maharage, na tunawafikia wakulima zaidi ya 5,000 kwenye mradi huo Nyanda za Juu Kusini. Tunafanya kazi pia na AGRA kwenye miradi tofauti, lakini kwa sasa tumeanza nao kwenye mradi wa alizeti ambao pia tunautekeleza Nyanda za Juu Kusini, lakini pia tumeshawahi fanya kazi na USAID Feed the Future kwenye mradi wa mpunga. Lakini pia tuna mashirika mengine ambayo pia yako chini ya Sagcot tunafanya nayo kazi, wakiwemo watu kama EAGC ambayo kwa kifupi wamekuwa wanatusaidia sana kwenye utanuzi wa masoko. Tumeweza kujitanua sana katika mazingira ya kimasoko kwa sababu ya uwepo wa Eastern Africa Grain Council. Niseme sisi kama Raphael Group tunafanya kazi kwenye value chain. Na value chain yetu ni kamilifu. Tunafanya kazi na mkulima na mpaka sokoni. Tuna shirikisho linaloitwa Southern Highland Rice Consortium, SHIRCO, ambalo lina partners watano. Tuna wakulima zaidi ya 17,000 katika mazao yote ambayo tunafanyia kazi, lakini kwenye mpunga ni wakulima zaidi ya 6,000. Lakini pia tuna Yara Tanzania ambao ni partners wetu katika hilo shirikisho. Tuna kampuni inaitwa Obo Investment ambao wenyewe ni wasambazaji wa madawa na implements zingine, lakini pia tuna kampuni ya Agroseed ambayo ni wasambazaji wa mbegu. Yara wao wanatusambazia mbolea kwa wakulima wetu. Kwa value chain hii tumeweza kumove up very quickly. Kwa kifupi tumeweza kuwafikia wakulima wengi kutoka wakulima 500 ambao Rafael Group ilikuwa inafanya nao kazi mwaka 2014 mpaka kufikia zaidi ya wakulima 17,000 huu mwaka 2017 tunaozungumza. Nadhani mtaona ni mafanikio makubwa ndani ya muda mfupi ambao tumefanya kazi. Tumekuwa na baadhi pia ya mafanikio ikiwemo uongezekaji wa uzalishaji mashambani. Tunaweza kuona kwenye mpunga wakulima wengi waliokuwa wanategemea uzalishaji wa mvua wameweza kumove kutoka tani 1.8 kwenda hadi tani 3.8 kwa uzalishaji wa mpunga maeneo yanayotegemea mvua, lakini maeneo yanayotegemea maji tumetoka kwenye 2.5 metric ton hadi kufikia metric ton 6. Lakini pia quality ya mpunga imeongezeka kwa sababu tuna saizi wakulima wengi wameanza kutumia combine harvester kwenye mazingira ya uvunaji, na tunajaribu kuwafundisha njia bora za utunzaji wa mazao kipindi cha uvunaji na baada ya uvunaji. Lakini pia kama nilivyosema tumejitanua vizuri kwenye masoko. Saizi pia tunazifikia nchi za jirani, tunauza Malawi kidogo, tunauza Zambia, lakini na nchi zinginezo tofauti na kipindi cha nyuma ambapo tulikuwa tunategemea masoko yetu tu ya Tanzania. Bidhaa zetu kwa kifupi zimejitanua. Tanzania najua wengi mnatumia mchele tunaozalisha, lakini sio wengi wanaweza kufahamu bidhaa yetu kwa sababu tunakuwa na challenge fulani. Challenge ya kwanza kubwa ni kwamba mfumo wa packaging na packing bado imekuwa ni hafifu. Tunaona kabisa bidhaa zetu zinauzwa katika packaging za watu wengine. Ukienda Kenya wanachukua sana mchele wetu, lakini wanaweka kwenye packaging material zao na wanauza kwa brand zao. Sasa unaona ni changamoto ambayo tumekuwa tunaiface. Lakini financing imekuwa tatizo, ingawaje kwa hii misimu miwili tumefanikiwa kufanya kazi na NMB, wamewakopesha wakulima wetu. Lakini bado ni changamoto kwa kuwa idadi ya wakulima tunaotegemea wafikiwe bado haijafikia, na tunaona kuna documentation nyingi zinahitajika ili wakulima waweze kukopesheka. Nije kwa upande wa serikali, tuna changamoto moja ambayo tumekuwa tunaiongelea siku zote. Mashamba, maeneo ambayo tunafanya kazi na wakulima hayako leveled, na infrastructure zote ambazo ziko maeneo ya uzalishaji haziko vizuri. Nilikuwa napendekeza sana serikali jikite kwenye mazingira ya kusaidia kulevel land maeneo ya wakulima wanakozalisha, na iwaachie implementing partners waendelee na shughuli zingine za uzalishaji kama kuwafundisha wakulima masuala ya GAP, PHH na FBS. Lakini kwa kumalizia niseme tu tumekuwa tukijitahidi kujitanua mwaka hadi mwaka kama nilivyosema, na tumekuwa washindi zaidi ya mara 3 kwenye mashindano ya 88 nyanda za juu kusini miaka 3 mfululizo. Lakini pia kwa mwaka 2015 tulikuwa washindi wa shindano moja linaitwa Africa Finance and Investment Forum ambalo linafanywa na wa Belgium. Kuna shirika moja linaitwa IMRC chini ya ufadhili wa Rabobank, lilifanyika South Africa, na kwa Afrika nzima zaidi ya kampuni 49 Rafael Group aliibuka mshindi. Sema taarifa hazifiki kwa kuwa sisi sio waongeaji, ni watendaji. Na wakaribisha sana kwa wale mtakaoweza kufika Mbeya muje kujifunza kitu gani tunafanya. Na kwa kumalizia niseme tu na wakulima wangu wawili nimeongozana nao, naomba msimame muwasalimie wageni kwa kuwapungia mikono tu. Maharage na mwenzio kama mupo, naomba msimame. Niko na wawakilishi wangu wakulima wangu kutoka skimu ya Mbweni. Asanteni sana.
Yes, thank you very much, Lasara, for a very elaborate briefing on all the activities that Rafael is engaging with. And as mentioned, it's quite interesting, and by all means, do visit the facilities when you have an opportunity. I would like to go to our next panelist and actually invite to, because engaging with smallholder farmers is one thing, but there are also other stakeholders and actors in value chains. USAID, and I would like to introduce Adam Stephan, who is the private sector lead for USAID Tanzania, has been a strong champion of the Sagcot initiative from the beginning. And I would like you to share with us how you have been trying to maybe close some of the gaps that have been brought up by our panelists earlier in terms of the policy area, but also on the ground when it comes to the linkage to farmers.
Thank you, Jennifer, for the introduction. I just first want to start out by saying that we at USAID are very proud to have been an early sponsor of the Sagcot initiative, and we remain committed to being a key partner of Sagcot in the future. And I think it's important to recognize the progress that the Sagcot Center in particular has made since those early days. And I think that's really reflected in all of the partners that we see in the room today. But in addition to being a funder of the Sagcot Center, USAID has very intentionally tried to align with the Sagcot initiative by geographically focusing all of our investments in agriculture, food security, and nutrition within the Southern Corridor. And that's through our Feed the Future initiative. And in our first phase of programs, I think we were very successful at raising productivity and incomes of smallholders in the rice, maize, and horticulture value chains. But sort of echoing what some of the other speakers have said today, I think we realized to reach a larger number of smallholders and see the successful adoption really at scale of technologies and practices, we need to have efficient and competitive markets in place. And so that's influenced our investments. And as we launch the second round of projects under Feed the Future, we've really tried to take a market facilitation approach where we're looking at engaging much more intensively with all of the other actors on the ground, be it private sector, local and national government, and other development partners. And we're also implementing more enabling investments. Those are investments in the policy environment, in access to financial services, and in empowering youth so that they have the tools to participate in productive economies. And so our projects are now partnering with actors like producer organizations, millers and processors, agro-dealers, and other private sector actors that are playing the role of off-taker. I think we have examples in the rice and maize value chains working with several of the Sagcot partners. Kilimanjaro Plantations Limited is one example where we've been able to provide support to several thousand farmers that are selling to KPL. Also with Yara as an input provider with several hundred demonstration plots to demonstrate improved technologies. So this is all really to say that this approach has allowed us to leverage our resources with the considerable resources of all of the other partners, which resources that far outnumber the resources that any development partner can bring. And I think for us, the Sagcot Center has played a very important role here, just in the ability to bring together this very diverse group of stakeholders and partners that may have different approaches, but all have a very common vision, and that we can work together to identify strategies and solutions to really impact the lives of smallholders. So looking forward, I just want to raise a few examples of how we see collaboration with Sagcot and the other partners. I mentioned that we've aligned geographically. We're trying to also align programmatically as well. So Sagcot Center is deepening their relationships with our projects. I'm proud to announce that they've just signed a MOU with our Enabling Growth Through Investment in Enterprise, or ENGINE project, which will pledge collaboration around supporting public-private dialogue for an enabling environment for SME investment in agriculture, business development services, as well as access to financial services. And one more example that I'd really like to highlight, the role of Sagcot and the Sagcot Center in bringing stakeholders around the table, is their very critical role in establishing the Partnership Accountability Committee, which is a platform that was designed to monitor commitments that were made under the new Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition. These are both policy and investment commitments. And I think it's really a testament to the commitment that Sagcot Center has made, that we now have 6 different Government of Tanzania ministries and agencies around the table. We have private sector organizations, we have development partners, and we have civil society organizations that represent smallholders in the agriculture sector. And we're sitting around the table discussing and identifying solutions to some of the bottlenecks that were raised here around trade, taxation, land, some of these very binding constraints. So just to close, I think alignment and engagement across partners can be very challenging, but I think it has a tremendous payoff, and I think the only way that we're going to be able to achieve our goals is if we are able to align with each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam, and also thank you for the compliments towards the Sagcot Center. I can receive those on behalf of the staff. But alignment is indeed very important. And I think it's also critical and important. I mean, Lazaro, you introduced us to some of the farmers that you're working with, but it's also important to look at, okay, but what is the impact that we're achieving? And what is it that our farmers are saying in terms of how all this alignment and the partnership actually are being relevant to their lives. I would like to invite Mr. Nyembea from Mvivata to maybe reflect on some of the things that you've heard so far, and in terms of what, on behalf of your organization as a farmer representative, would be your vision in terms of how you would like this partnership or invite this partnership or alignment to support some of your constituencies better. Karibu. And if you can keep it brief, that would be helpful, so we have an opportunity also for the audience to ask questions.
Thank you very much. And perhaps I would like to use Swahili. My first language was Nyaturu, and then I moved to Swahili and then English. So I'm much comfortable to use the Kiswahili. And perhaps I will be on and off in Swahili and English, so I think I'm much comfortable using them, both of them. Labda kuna mambo mawili matatu nitasema, lakini kwa haraka. Jambo la kwanza ni tulivyoanza Mvivata, pengine tulikuwa tushiriki sana kwenye Sagcot. Kwa sasa tutakuwa tunashiriki, lakini kwa kuangalia yale ambayo wana Sagcot inafanya na kutoa mawazo mbadala, pengine nini kingefanyika na kifanyikeje kwa ajili ya maslahi ya wakulima wadogo wa Tanzania ambao ndio wanaolisha taifa, lakini nafikiri na ndio walio wengi. Kuna masuala mawili matatu. Moja ni kuhusu usalama wa ardhi na haki za ardhi za wakulima wadogo. Tunajua ardhi ndio msingi wa uzalishaji, mengine yanakuja hapo baadaye, na ndio mtaji mkubwa wa kwanza, na hili nafikiri lazima tuwe na wivu wa kulinda kwa nguvu na tuhakikishe wakulima wetu wanakuwa na uhakika na usalama wa ardhi, ingawa kwa sasa inaenda pamoja na maji. Kwa hiyo muda wote tunapokuwa na uwekezaji, tunaweza tukawaita ni wahamiaji wakulima wadogo kwenye mashamba fulani ambayo yalikuwa ya serikali, lakini wana haki pengine, na tuone ni namna gani tuweze kuhakikisha kwamba haki zao za kimsingi za ardhi zinalindwa na kutetewa muda wote kwa wivu, kwa maslahi mapana ya taifa. Lakini la pili, nafikiri tunaamini zaidi kwenye uwekezaji kwa ajili ya wakulima wadogo, kwa maana invest into them and for them. Na hili kimsingi liguswa kidogo nafikiri na Bwana Raphael kuhusu uwekeze kwenye miundombinu itakaowawezesha wazalishaji wadogo waweze kuzalisha kwa ajili ya kufanya biashara, lakini kwa ajili ya kulisha taifa. Na hapa uwekezaji lazima tunazungumzia miundombinu. Kama ni wafugaji, basi pawe na miundombinu salama na rafiki kwa yote, madipu, majosho na vitu vya aina hiyo. Lakini pamoja na uwekezaji kwa maana ya mitaji, tunajua juhudi kubwa za serikali zinazofanyika kuanzisha benki ya wakulima, lakini basi wafikie wakulima wadogo kwa maslahi mapana zaidi ya taifa. Lakini kingine cha mwisho ningezungumzia kuhusu uwekezaji wenye uwajibikaji, responsible investments, ambazo pengine tumeshuhudia hatukuwa na huu uwekezaji mzuri kwa kipindi kirefu, na hasa upande wa madini kama mnakumbuka. Na hii imeendelea, pengine inaendelea kutuumiza. Tunajua juhudi zinazofanywa kwa sasa huenda zisiwe hivyo, na nafikiri mmeona juzi rais kwa ukali kabisa amejaribu kuzungumzia hili akiwa kwenye ufunguzi wa uwekezaji wa gesi na pamoja na sementi upande wa Dangote kule Mtwara. Sasa hili lazima tuzungumzie, tuheshimu haki za msingi za wakulima tunaowakuta, na ndo walinzi wa kwanza wa ardhi, the first traditional custodians of the land ambao tunawakuta. Sasa their very pertinent rights will be protected. Kama kulikuwa na rights of passage, right to water, right to forest and other issues should be eagerly protected kwa maslahi mapana. Sasa ukienda pale ukaanzisha kilimo kikubwa, maji ukaya drain to your own advantage at the expense of small scale farmers, sidhani kama will do justice na itapendeza kufanya hivyo. Kwa hiyo to strive all the times once we invest to make sure that the basic and fundamental human rights are eagerly protected. Na hii ni muhimu. Kama unamwagilia vizuri, kama unachukua maji, chukua vizuri, yarudishe vizuri, ili na jamii zinufaike. Na vitu vingine kama unamwaga dawa, mwaga kwenye shamba lako, usiumize walio karibu, kuwa na mahusiano mazuri. Unaweza kukuta mtu anaendesha gari speed 200, leo umekanyaga mbuzi, kesho umeua mtoto, kesho kutu umeua mbwa. Relationship haitakuwepo, na it won't be a responsible investment. Now people won't be happy for that. So those are the few comments. Some of them might be my personal reflections, lakini ndo ninavyosikia. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mbeya, and I would like to also acknowledge Mivata, because they're part of the Green Reference Group. They're in one of our feeder groups, who basically supports the Sagcot institutions and the Sagcot partners to ensure indeed that the interventions, the activities are sustainable and are inclusive. So, asante. Last but not least, I would like to take you to our partner, Yara. William, in engaging with Yara on basically having a role in this panel, what they stated is that our farmers can actually speak for themselves. So you brought with you a video that you would like to show us. The computer is there, and I think that Austin will share the stories and the way how Yara is engaging with some of our farmers in the corridor.
Kama nilichokipata, kwanza nimetumia karo kwa mwanafunzi. Nimewezesha hicho kipato. Pili, ninunue maduka ambayo nayo kutokea na kipato hicho. Tatu, maisha ya kwangu mimi ni chakula cha kutosha. Hayo ndio mafanikio niliyopata kutokana na kilimo cha kutumia mbolea ya
nawe pia unaweza kuwa Yara shujaa kwa kutumia mifuko mitatu ya Yara bila cereal kwa ekari moja.
So thank you very much for that, William. Maybe you just want to make a few remarks, because I would like to, in the interest of time, give an opportunity to the audience to ask questions to this very rich panel. Maybe you want to just make a few remarks about the SHUYAP program.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I think it will be very brief. Maybe I just start to, for those who don't know about us, just a little bit of what we do. Yara Tanzania is more than 10 years now here in Tanzania. A fully owned subsidiary of Yara SA, based out of Oslo, Norway. Very proud to have our ambassador here today, so it's a Norwegian company. And we represent solutions, provisions to the smallholder farmers. Grace here represents 99.5% of the farmers here in Tanzania. So when we came to this country, we realized that there's a lot of challenges. And we are proud to be part of the Sagcot partnerships, because this is how we can build value for the farmers, bringing solutions where we bring in knowledge on nutrition in order to build on the many issues and factors that have been talked in the panel today. A lot of issues have come up, issues of knowledge, issues of sustainability, issues of environmental sustainability. So working together with the Sagcot partners, we bring in knowledge to train the farmers, to build their competence, to build the capacity of the distribution system of inputs within the country. 10 years ago, farmers would cycle more than 50 kilometers to and fro to get a bag of fertilizer, to buy a piece of a bottle of agrochemicals. So working together with the Sagcot partners, we bring in the knowledge, we invest in capacity development with other partners, most of whom I've seen here in this room, in order to take the delivery of service and products closer to the growers. Because agriculture cannot wait. This is a sector that cannot wait. Food is very important, and the value of food comes from what we feed into the crops. So we in Yara come in with that representation, that whatever goes into the soil has to be sustainable, has to build up the end-up produce into the farmers. And the farmers have to get a better bargain for their produce. They get a better bargain when they invest in their crops, they're able to get good quality, and partners like Rafa can be able to pay a better price for the farmers. Because we want to see the farmers transforming and moving along the grace pathway. And this is what we represent here.
Okay. Well, William, thank you for explaining that and how you're engaged in the partnership. I would like to give an opportunity to the audience to ask maybe a few questions to our panel. You've heard across the board how different Sagcot partners are working together and how they're delivering on the ground. If you have a question, please state your name and organization, and if it's addressed to a specific panel member, we would like to hear that. I would take 3 questions. According to Professor Tim, we're only allowed 3 questions, so I see a gentleman here. I see a lady over there, and I think in order of fairness and justice, and Women's Day, there's another lady there in the blue that had a question. So perhaps we start here, sir, if you would like to state your name and organization and who you're addressing.
Yeah, Dr. Ramesh Shah, a consultant. I would like to give you some of my experiences. It's one time we worked with UNIDO,
Yes, excuse me, sir. Questions to the panel, please, and if you can keep them
No,
brief.
it will, when I give my comment, I think the questions will come in.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Yeah, so in the process of value addition, what we had is to get a problem at a certain level, the Food and Drug Authority will come in. And you say we want standards. Now, at what level they should come in, this is what we should decide. Secondly is that the marketing part of it. The traceability and the fair pricing again comes in when we want to export it. And that's where your fruit and vegetables and all those things can be well marketed, because you cannot afford to waste any of those things. If you can't process it at a very high level, you can do it like, for example, solar drying. Or you can just turn it into wine, both wild fruits and ordinary fruits. But the biggest problem is the standards. They have come in and we have found it difficult to sell it. And that's my question. At what level should we sit down and discuss at what level the Food and Drug Authority or the TBS, or they come in and they set up the standards? That should be come into the discussion.
And who is your question addressed to, sir? Who would you like to answer that question on the panel?
Any one of them. Any one of them. Because these are the biggest problem. We have a high level of production. We have a problem of selling them with those standards.
Okay.
Otherwise, we cannot export them.
Yes, thank you. I think the question is clear.
Yeah, thank you.
There was another question from a lady there. Ms. Marta.
Thank you very much. My name is Martha Nico. I'm from Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology based in Arusha.
Sorry, we cannot hear you. Would you mind speaking up?
Yeah, my name is Martha Nico from Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology based in Arusha. My question goes to the Yara representative. He told us about how they work with Sagcot to provide products and services to the farmers. But then he didn't tell us what Yara stands for and what are their main products and services. Thank you.
Okay. May I maybe suggest that you can take that question maybe offline with William so that he can brief you about Yara, what Yara does as a company and what they're providing. And there was a third question from the lady there. Yes, please, go ahead. Your mic is not working? That is very unfortunate. So I think I will probably go to another panelist. Maybe you can address it to that specific panelist during the break. Not hear you. Can you maybe borrow somebody else's mic? Meanwhile, who would like to address the question on the standardization? It's not really related to partnership, but I do think that it's critical. Will you do that, Lasana? Okay. Let's hear the question from the lady, and then we will go to you.
Yeah. My question is around gender equality and women's empowerment. I think we've listened to both panels referring to farmers, yet we know that women specifically face unique challenges in agriculture. So I'd like to hear, for instance, from Raffaele Group, which provisions and accommodations they make to address gender equality, and also to hear from the lady farmer how women's farmers' constraints specifically are addressed, and how everyone is working towards narrowing the gap in productivity on gender equality.
Okay, thank you for that question. Okay, Lazaro, may I invite you very briefly to respond to the question on food standards?
Nashukuru sana. Kwa kifupi niseme tumekuwa tunahangaikia sana swala la standards, especially tunapouza nje ya nchi. Kwa mfano tunauza Kenya, mmeuza kwa awamu ya kwanza, awamu ya pili wanawaambia mchele mliotuletea standards zake ni tofauti na standards zilizopita. Kitu kikubwa ambacho kimekuwa kikifanyika, na hili pia niwashukuru sana Eastern Africa Grain Council, tumekuwa tuna meetings, regional meetings especially nchi kama Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania na Malawi, tumekuwa tukitafuta namna ya kuset standards, na kikubwa tulichokiona cha kwanza nacho ni kuwa na uzalishaji wa specific varieties mashambani. Kwa mfano sisi saizi tuna promote sana farmers kucultivate Saro 5 kwa upande wa mpunga. Unakuta Saro 5 ikizalishwa siku zote itakuja ikiwa na standard ya aina moja, na uzalishaji wa mashine pia mara nyingi unachangia kufikia hizo standards ambazo zinatakiwa. Kwa kifupi niseme kuna jitihada zinafanyika kati ya nchi hizi, lakini kwa hizi organizations zilizopo, lakini pia kwa wazalishaji maeneo ya mashambani. Kikubwa tunatakiwa tuwafanye wakulima wazalishe kile kitu tunachokihitaji. Unapowapa wenyewe wazalishe specific variety, mwisho wa siku ni rahisi sana kupata standard moja ya kile kitu ambacho unakuwa unakiuza kila wakati.
Okay, thank you very much for your response. And the question with regards to gender was also specifically addressed to the Rafael group. I think that those are a lot of questions for Asara to answer, so maybe I would like to invite one of the other panelists to maybe give a brief response to that, so they also give an opportunity to share their views. William, would you like to share maybe what it is that you are doing in terms of bridging the gender gap? Very briefly, please.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very, very sensitive issue when you talk about women and the youth and getting them there. And this is something that through the various partnerships that we've been involved in, it's a very core issue. Taking you example, even when you go for a farmer meeting, for example, you find maybe all the men come in for the meeting, but who does the work at the farm? 99% of the time is the women. So working together, and I think even with our partnership with the Rafael group, speaking on their behalf, we have some groups that are actually dedicated for women. And this is an example for them to learn that they are able to do it. They're able to build their families through it. Through the examples of Mama Grace, we inspire the rest of the women to join in and be able to be part of the agricultural transformation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that, William. I think that across the board, the gender issue is very important. Our panel here today has shared not only how they've been working together, but also their vision of where they would like to go in terms of the partnership. I would like to invite the Regional Commissioner, Amina Juma, to close the panel with some closing remarks in terms of what her vision is for where she would like to see the Iringa region go.
Asanteni sana. Nizungumze swala la mwanamke. Kwanza sisi wanawake wa Tanzania tunajisikia fahari kwa jinsi serikali yetu inavyotuthamini. Na kipekee wanawake wanayo nafasi kubwa katika ujenzi wa uchumi. Na ukimwambia mwanamke alale, Watanzania wengi hawatakula kwa sababu mzalishaji mkubwa ni mwanamke. Na kwa sababu hiyo sasa tunaiona fahari serikali inapoweka na kutengeneza mazingira na kuweka fursa zinazomhusu mwanamke katika kumwezesha kwenye uzalishaji. Moja, tunawaweka katika vikundi ambavyo vinaandikishwa kisheria, na hiyo inakuwa kinga yao kuwawezesha kupata mikopo. Na kwa sababu wanaweza kupata nafasi ya kukopa bila kuwa na kitu cha kuwekeza kama nyumba au shamba, basi mkopo ule tunawasimamia vema ili mkopo ule uweze kuwasaidia kuwabadili kutoka hapo walipo kwenda mbele. Kwa hiyo kwetu katika mkoa wa Iringa na Tanzania kwa ujumla, agenda ya mwanamke kumbadili kiuchumi ni agenda ya kudumu na iko kila mahala. Kwa hiyo sisi tuko kwa ajili ya kumfanya mwanamke aendelee kuwa mjenzi wa uchumi wa Tanzania. Lakini kwa ujumla niseme kwamba mkutano huu ni ufunguo mkubwa. Ufunguo ambao utatusaidia kuona na kujifunza mambo mengi. Lakini pia una mwelekeo wa kutuelekeza tufanye nini ili tuweze kufikia lengo lile tulilokusudia kabla ya mwaka wa 2030. Wazi, wajibikaji, nidhamu ya juu inaweza ikatupeleka sote tukajikuta tuko ndani ya boti ya kwenda kuvuka na kufikia mafanikio, lakini pia itapunguza kwa wale walionacho. Sasa watawajibika kuhakikisha kwamba wanawasaidia wale wasionacho, ili na wao waweze kusimama na wawe na uhakika wa lishe na akiba ya chakula katika familia. Ukiongoza familia iliyo na chakula, uongozi wake unakuwa ni mrahisi, lakini ukiongoza taifa ambalo lina njaa, shida ni kubwa. Asanteni sana.
Well, asante sana, Mama Mina. Well, I would like to thank my panel. Please put your hands together. These are the partners who are making it happen. And enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Another round of applause to the team. I think you will agree with me that it has been a very, very fruitful discussion. And the way to take it is that there will be a number of breakout sessions where these topics repeat themselves. The engagement of farmers has got a heavy dose of gender. You could join that group during the breakout and even hear a little bit much more. Inputs to farmers and farmers' productivity will also continue being an issue during the breakouts. May I request that we really try to be orderly and use our time very efficiently. Right now we will take a break, but please remain seated. Remain seated. We'll take a break. We are giving ourselves 20 minutes to have a cup of coffee and a snack and reconvene here. Our guest of honor is very few meters away from this place. He will join us and he will be sitting with a few of us, receiving a little bit of a brief of what we have achieved in the morning. When we reconvene here, then the official opening will take place. May I request you continue sitting down, and humbly, may I request now probably Your Excellencies ambassadors, if at all you may stand up and use this exit door together with our chairman, Sagcot Center, and the chief executive of Sagcot Center and chief executive of Sagcot Catalytic Trust Fund. Please be the first ones to move out of the room. Use this door. Austin will lead you to the holding ground. Also with you, the regional commissioners, Iringa and Njombe, and District Commissioner Iringa. Please join us together. And Austin. Several regional commissioners, I'm told, those are the two which I was informed. Please, all the regional commissioners join us so that we meet the guest of honor together with Your Excellencies ambassadors and the leadership of Sagcot Catalytic Trust Fund and Sagcot Center Limited. Austin, assist us in that, please. Please remain seated for just a few more seconds. Asante Mzee Shamte. Asante sana. Now the rest of us, please, we have adequate services for everyone. We can use both doors. Once you walk out, you'll find ushers. They will guide you until where you can get a cup of coffee and tea. Let us give ourselves 20 minutes and reconvene here for the official opening. Thank you very much for your patience.
Kwa Simon, unashangalia mimi kutokea pale. Simon anashangalia mimi kutokea pale, ajui mimi ni superstar. Ona kule. Anashanga nini kutokea kwenye screen? Ona kule, ona screen. Wewe hujui ni superstar.
Gentlemen, this is not that long.
Ni superstar bana. Ni superstar bana.
Cameraman yako what instruction? Hey. Hey, Bona. Yeah, how are you? I'm good. I'm glad to you here. I was wondering whether you went back to Kenya or not? No, Nico. Okay, good. But I'm busy. Okay. Oh, I thought you actually spending for the first time. Yeah, but I can't. My colleague, okay. Hello. Yeah, you are also with the DRN. Yeah, but you guys were working from here. Okay. No, but not see? Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, fine. Good. Okay.
Bigger ones.
I'm here. I work Hillary, but here in Tanzania. I moved this way. Yes. We were from a long time ago. When I was in ministry. See, it's livestock, eh? Livestock. Yeah. So, Amona, you are present in Dutch? I'm in Dutch. For not being okay.
Can you believe that?
Is that different from the computer? Sidio? Advise them not to leave the computer. Have a computer? I think so. Yeah. Unless you have in such big meetings, you do that at your own risk. Yeah, go to your computer. You know, clothes have become
Offstrap. Nani ni country whatever.
Better. Been to the doctor already? Not yet. So you're not sounding good.
5 o'clock time, I think. Unfortunately, one of the things at 4 o'clock was me, so I'm stuck. I will be taking a short break at lunchtime to go and see our lawyers. We have offices at Cape Town Fish Market there. So I'll be going. Yeah, I'm glad to hear. What are your plans? Are you thinking you're not going to go to work tonight? Yeah, as I say, unfortunately, I can't get onto a plane on Sunday morning, so I have to go back tomorrow. You're not going to be at work, and maybe Sorry, say that again. Say that again. You're not going to work? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, see, there's a place down the road from me called Damtro or something. What is that like? The Damtro Hotel? It's just down the road from you. I think it's called Damtro. D-A-M-T-A. Damtro. Huh? Yeah. I think it's D-A-M, Damtro. I'll text it to you. Okay.
Ni kama mimi. Ndio naweza kabisa. Mimi amdui na nini nimemwambia shamtu tuna resources hapa tuna strong tuone.
Na wewe unaweza kufikiria rais, lakini unalia rais ya kwamba tena kuwapa shida wakula ambao yani mimi hicho kitu I'm a very smart, sharp guy. Because they're just really sharp. I'm careful because Shamsi keeps on telling me that is a video. Mama Russian doesn't want to
I
shake
know,
hands.
I know.
So I
But-
usually do like this.
But usually when you see them, when you see with hijab. I know, because Mama Roshan.
There is something they call udu.
But when you see with the hijab, when you
because you're
just
wearing
refrain.
This doesn't look
But
like
don't you see my dreadlocks? Don't you see my arms? Don't you see my neck?
No, but
It's not the hijab. Just listen to me. When you see
You
that
owe me a
on
wine.
face. Oh my gosh! Don't let Dr. Roshan hear that. We don't do wine.
You don't do it?
I don't do alcohol at all.
Yes. How are you?
This is Nancy. She's one of our accountants.
I think I've walked into the pool room and
Yeah,
made some noise and went away.
I was there.
You went there? And you wondered, is this guy really?
I know. She's more Matanga.
yes, I wanted to say very specific. She's running the potato partnership project.
Congratulations.
To finance.
Congratulations. All what we hear from that initiative is positive, and we've been trying to other additional outlets in Iringa and in Morogoro, micro SME level program. The owner of Sagcot.
Yes, I know. That's big, yes.
There's a parallel running where she fries bacon. And they wanted, they once received an order for 800 kilos of French semi-fried from Hyatt this week, per week.
A week. A week.
Per week. 800 kilograms of semi-fried, so that they just come and do some finish.
Yeah. And also, I think, frozen. Frozen.
It is semi-fried.
Frozen,
And
yeah. Okay.
semi-fried and
That's
freezing.
cool.
So, and also they have the kids snack. I don't know whether you've seen it. If at all you go to
Yeah, I've
Villa,
seen them.
in every room there is a packet of a snack. And that flavor is I don't know what you call it. The recipe to do it, it's only the white woman, no one else. And if you try to do it, you don't get it. It has some chili, I sense garlic in it, but still there's some 2 or 3 other ingredients which I can't figure out what they are. I don't know whether it's lemon, sprinkled at the end or something, but believe me, once you start,
Is it healthy though? It's healthy.
I don't think it's healthy, but for the young kids, it's not. There's no matter. You know, the under 10, let's say, let
They
them
would run
eat
it off.
everything.
They would run it off.
So it's a better snack than probably sweets and biscuits when they go
Yeah,
to school,
true.
because it's probably only oil with a little concern to you. But he says for that particular type of crisps, you cannot use anything else except double refined sunflower. So even in that case, it's not very bad oil. It's not Korean. So our thinking is that probably that one single line of marketing should be diversified as much as possible, and these semi-processors should come on board. So sooner or later you'll start hearing the name of Saidila. This is Joshua. How is it doing?
Oh, it's nice.
Improvised.
Just some hiccups on technical issues, but so
reinforcing, but at first I thought it was.
To me, it was a bigger, the program was a major issue for me. You know, we just had to improvise. And I had to be very, very forceful to get the panelists going
Right,
there.
right.
Because we had to do an official opening, the minister and so forth. But he's arriving now. Imagine if at all we were
Remember,
waiting.
we have waited, we would have wasted 2 hours.
2
already.
hours. So it's better
And people
to
would have been very,
disappointed.
you know, because
The problem is that people usually scream when
there are
just
certain
correct
things, yeah,
and so forth.
exactly.
Because it seems as if people were working towards 100% perfection. You understand? You
It's
can't
not
achieve that.
possible. It's not possible. But how is it going for you?
For me, it's fine. I think I should go and have a cup of tea.
Are you going there or here?
Any of the doors is fine. But probably,
Hugo Chingu. Okay, Master. Okay, so.
Most welcome. Karibuni sana. We need to move swiftly and cover the next component of the program. This is the official opening and receiving statements from recognized individuals. If you have your colleague who went out, just send him an SMS telling him that we are reconvening now. Kindly let's take our seats.
The beauty. Now, how will you come out?
Naomba mniletee watu.